welcome back to PSGL. George Morgan here, your commentator, alongside me, TK, who is going to be rounding off the season with me.
Down the inside,
Absolutely impossible scene.
This is for the win between these two.
I'm on the edge of my seat.
He needs to get it done now.
Blakey will dive to the inside.
We'll go bust. We got our elbows out.
Ronar takes the lead.
Because here comes Alfie Butcher.
Can't really complain with that one.
It's not going to be easy. The pressure is on, of course.
Jarno Watmere is your champion.
Hello, good evening and a warm welcome to you. Welcome back to PSGL. You've just tuned in to PCF2. And in case you're wondering, hey, that's an unfamiliar voice for this particular tier, you'd be right, because there's been a bit of a shift in commentators tonight, unfortunately, due to several circumstances. I'm Frostbreath, aka Rob. Normally you would hear me in F4 and several other leagues as well, but tonight I've been moved here to join Omi here for the second round in Jeddah. And Omi, we've been talking before we went live here, and this should be another good race, because last race apparently was brilliant.
It was. We kicked off the new season, Season 40, a landmark season for PSG. We kicked it off in style as well with the new game, with a race which lots were expecting a one-stop. Did we get that? No. Instead, it was a two-stop that came our way, and it turned into a three-stop then with the late rain. A few laps at the end with a little bit of rain meant it was absolutely wild. We had a bit of a drifting show going on with Lukumski and Kashontos as well. So it was all wild last time out. But it was Liam Stevens who ended as the winner. It was a great performance from the British driver, part of the Aston Martin fold as well in terms of a development driver there. And he actually got that role on the week leading up to that race. So he got that role 1 week ago. So it was a perfect storyline to kickstart his season after getting that role a few days ago.
Yeah, I mean, we all love a good storyline, don't we? And speaking of storylines, look at the standings before we go live to track, because we are on our way already, actually, in the lobby right here. A little look right here, you can see then, of course, Liam Stevens leading the way with 16 points ahead, 4 points of Luca Repasa, who finished second. Then in the third place, we've got Piotr Stakulek. We also saw a little post-race penalty being applied to, if I can find him quickly, Richard Jacobs. Yes, he has been demoted one position actually, now currently sitting 12th in the standings. Now, tonight, we've arrived in Jeddah, an entirely different beast of track, Omi, of course, and we both are certain this is going to be another good one.
Yeah, we've had a few interesting races, of course, that are going to come our way. We started the season in Austria. We head over to the streets of Jeddah, the Jeddah Corniche circuit, which has 3 back-to-back DRS zones as well. So it means that overtaking is promoted, and overtaking can take place quite a bit. But you always still want to make sure that you get a good qualifying in to have yourself in a good position come the race, and you also want to stay out of trouble, and that's exactly what the drivers will be trying to do with the 18 minutes of qualifying, which also awards a point for pole position.
Absolutely, and not forget to mention the walls are really, really close on this track, so a mistake is easily made. I've commentated this race before last night, saw several drivers being tricked out by this difficult track due to those walls being really, really close. But I think it's time to head to the track side, because several drivers have already headed out. One of them, it's the first out on track, is Cameron Dowds here in the Sauber. As you can see, he's followed closely at the moment by Tony Hitala in the RB car. 20 brilliant names once again here on track, and the big question, of course, is can Liam Stevens do a repeat of last week and impress his esports team even more? But we'll have to keep that in mind, that Luca Repasa is breathing down his neck at the moment. He's still sitting in the pit box. He will come out a little bit later. His teammate is out on track at the moment. But who could be a contender for pole position here, Almi?
Well, I mean, if we look to last week, it was Tony Hitala getting that point for pole position. So, you would definitely consider him in the mix as well, but in the race, he found himself finishing in 10th. So that was a huge disappointment to end off what started off as a brilliant day. You have to, of course, expect the drivers of Liam Stevens to also be in contention, and you also have to expect the driver who is in your picture right now heading down towards the 27th turn of the circuit, Cameron Dowd. He could also be a driver to watch as well in the Kick Sauber. He found himself qualifying in 5th. Last time out at Austria, but it's a complete different circuit in terms of, even when we come to length, it's the circuit with the most corners as well. So it's quite different, and as we've already mentioned a few times, the walls are closed. A complete different challenge for these drivers around this circuit, meaning what we saw in Austria could be completely flipped on the table, and we could find ourselves with a complete different result by the end of this session.
You can see there Cameron Dowd avoiding a little bit of traffic in the form of one Red Bull right there. Of course, that is another tricky bit here because the track is, well, I wouldn't say very narrow, but narrow enough for traffic to be a proper hinder because of the walls being this close. For a sector, 31.557 for the Scotsman as he heads through the hairpin turn 13 on the way to turn 14. You don't often say that a track has literally almost 3 times as many corners as the previous track, but that's definitely the case. 27 corners as opposed to 10 corners around the Red Bull Ring. So it's definitely a very different thing to go around here. Of course, this is one of those many straights with a lot of slight curves in it, so to say, as he heads into turn 22 right here. Another purple sector, obviously, because he's the first one out at the moment. Then, only a couple of more corners to go. Headed toward the other hairpin, which will turn him right back around to the opposite direction once again, all the way towards the line. And then we'll find out what the first lap time of the night is going to be. Other thing is, invalidations happen quite frequently around this track because the track limits are pretty dangerous around here. Penalties, might see a few of them. 26.0 is the first lap time to go with, and that already is quite rapid. Next across the line, André Molnar goes slightly quicker with a 25.9. Then, of course, there's Tony Hietala slotting in 3rd for now with a 26.060. One of the Red Bulls cross the line next, but I believe that one is on an out lap. It's Leo Lund. Then one of the Aston Martins is crossing the line. That might have been Liam Stevens, actually, who just started his hot lap.
Yep, absolutely. Liam Stevens, our championship leader, rotating his way through the opening couple of corners on this racetrack. Turn number 4 coming up. It's a place where you can get very close to the walls, which is the case around the entire circuit, but especially at that part where you are sometimes grazing it, and in Stevens' case, he'll be hoping that he doesn't touch it. Angelo D'Ortenzio goes to the top at 1 minute 5.743, so a lap time that is a great lap when it comes to a banker. Stevens backing out of it there. The drivers still finding themselves building to this circuit, and they will continue to build upon their laps that they will do. And we are currently taking a look at an out lap with Bent Sabaconi. It will be interesting to see how he gets on in the Aston Martin as well, coming into this round. The driver who finds himself with a 9th place last time out, and now we look to Gabor Kashontos, who comes across the line, and it's a 1 minute 26.058, and that is the 9th fastest time, with the session still being in its early stages.
Yeah, Pascal Ranieri flying across the line, only P12, but the thing is, it's a 26.106, 4 milliseconds behind Larry Tolkien at the moment. That's how small the differences are, but D'Angelo D'Ortenzio absolutely flying at the moment. 25.743 is an absolute blistering lap time to open up the night with. I'm trying to find somebody currently still on a hot lap. There's Leo Lund on your screen right there. He is not managed to set a hot lap just yet, but he's only at the start of his lap at the moment. Trying to find somebody who is currently about to finish the lap. We can see both Alpines hiding through the final corner, but they aren't on the lap yet. Here's our man in 2nd place in the standings, Luca Ripassa. He's hoping that the Haas car over there moves out of the way, and he absolutely does. So let's see if he can get anywhere close to his teammate. Tony Hietala only sitting in P12 at the moment, behind Gabor Kashontos and Sergio Sobrino, who are having the exact same lap time, frankly. Both of them are exactly 2 milliseconds faster than the other RB car. So Luca is definitely looking to his teammate for a sort of benchmark, so to say. This is only the banker lap, so they still have plenty of time to find extra time and improve here and there. One of the McLarens there moving out of the way quite nicely. And then up next is another Williams as Luca Rapassa heads around the final corner on the main straight. Once again, DRS wide open and then across the line. Where is he going to go? He's definitely a whole lot faster than his teammate. Slots himself 10 places ahead of him in P3.
Yep. driver qualified in 11th last time out on a drive to second place. Doesn't want to be doing that today. He'll want to drive to first, but he'll want to do so from the highest possible position. And if he can grab a bonus point as well, where it will definitely be a positive round by the end of today if he can manage that. As we now take a look at Ben Sabaconi, we were talking about him being on his out lap. He's on his push lap right now. He's got the rear wing open as he heads down to turn number 27 in the Alpine car. He will hit his braking point, immediately focus on getting the car rotated, and then he will once again get that rear wing open, come across the line, and then it's all about seeing what you've managed, and it is the fourth fastest time for Ben Sabaconi with a 1 minute 25.847. Quite a few of those drivers in the 1 minute 25.8 as well, but they're all going to be aiming to get on terms with Angelo Di Ortenzio, who's got a great advantage to consider. We're still have only completed our opening run of this session.
Yeah, I mean, there's some really fast lap times, and I'm seriously impressed compared to what I've seen already. You can see some drivers heading out for their second attempts. Only Piotr Stakulek has managed to not set a lap time just yet, but I'm sure he'll find some very quick lap times soon enough. His teammate for now in P4 as we speak. Even our provisional pole sitter is back out already to get his second try in very soon indeed. Cameron Dowd is out for an outlap. Same goes for Pascal Ranielli, and Liam Stevens currently sitting in the last position. That is a big difference from last week's departure from Austria. Now he's the slowest of the lot, at least at the moment, by quite a lot. 2.5 tenths clear from the next car in Pascal Ranielli, P17, but I feel like Liam Stevens might have made a mistake somewhere and had to back out of it a tiny bit, explaining why his lap is a little bit slower than it probably could have been as he heads around the final corner. Once again, as ERS battery on, rear wing open, and now let's see how our championship leader is gonna go around this track.
Yep, let's find exactly that. A driver who backed out of his initial run, now getting to push on at this stage. Traffic perfectly out of the way there. The McLaren was perfectly out of the way, as I mentioned, and that is exactly what you want at this stage of the session, as those drivers continue to wait as they get ready to build up for their next run. But we're through this fast sector 1, and then you're waiting to get the time on the board, and when it comes our way, he's a 10th up. It's a 31.460. We throw it into turn number 13 around this circuit, and then he'll find himself getting on the power once again, and then we've got some more challenging corners coming his way as he is about to stand on the power, and we're about to head through down one of our straights, and he'll have the rear wing open all the while he does so as he gets closer and closer towards turn number 22 as he tries to build up and find the time. He sends it in through turn 22, and then we get down through 23, 24, 25, gets a bit of slipstream as well, and now is going to be heading towards our final braking zone on the circuit to try and see what lap time he can manage. Gets his braking point, gets it on point there. Perfect stuff from Stevens, and now he comes across the line. Well, we waited to see what he could manage.
Wow.
We're going to get our answer, and it's going to be to the top of the table, and that is going to be now another driver in the 0.7s. It's nearly in the 0.6. He's only 2 thousandths away from that, but he's now our lead driver with under 8 minutes to go.
That is incredible. That is one big jump from last of the qualified cars all the way up to first. Of course, there's still Leo Lund and Piotr Stakulek who set a lap time yet, but that is very impressive. That is, if my math is correct, that is over a 6/10 improvement in lap time, and that is serious stuff. I mean, he was up already quite mightily in the first sector, and he improved a lot in the second and third sectors as well. We're following Leo Lund at the moment. I feel like he could be quite up there as well. His first sector is going to be a 31.561, which is pretty much near the regions that Cameron Dowd had in his first run. So we should at the moment be around P12, 13-ish. But of course, there's still 2 more sectors to go. And as the track evolves, things will only become quicker and quicker. So the Red Bull has got it all to do then in this tricky bit right here. Turns 15 and onwards. It's like you blink with an eye and all of a sudden they've done 5 more corners. That's how quickly these corners follow each other up with Leo Lund, of course, heading towards the tricky turn 22, the last possible corner where you can invalidate. He nearly does so. He slid quite heavily there. Some serious understeer for the Red Bull, but according to the game, it's purple at the very least. So let's hope it's actually true for this man right here in the Red Bull as he heads toward the final proper corner there, turn 27. Another hairpin turning straight around back towards the finish line. And then we'll see how Leo Lund copes towards the rest of the field. His key teammate currently in P14. Leo Lund improves all the way up to P7. Strong lap time for him. 1 millisecond quicker than Nelson Alves, who's currently sitting now in P8. And that means only Piotr's got a lap to go.
Absolutely, and these are, of course, the stars of the future. We're gonna be able to see the stars of now, though, starting their season in a few weeks' time as well. PCF1, which has been long awaited, will be getting underway on July 23rd. So save that date. That is when it'll all be getting going for that, and we've had to wait quite a long time with the actual esports season taking place. But we're going to have quite a lot of fun in a few weeks when we are able to get that one going. You're going to have George, Morgan and TK talking you through that one. The calendar's also been released. You can find that on the PSGL social. And we've not been able to also bring you the F3 and F4 along with F5 streams today due to lack of streamers. But we'll make sure that we also keep you up to date on socials with that one. But in the meantime, we've just been able to see a lap time come in, and it's quite the lap time as well. Jan Halliday off pace in Austria, but here in Jeddah, it's a 1 minute 25.580, and that shows you exactly why he is the reigning champion coming into this season. Halliday delivering with that lap time.
Absolutely brilliant. I mean, that's quite extraordinary. 25.580. And now we've got an Aston Martin front row lockout as we speak. But there, of course, still is several drivers who want to try another go around this track right here. Angelo D'Ortenzio on his first attempt, still sitting in P3, so he's done a serious lap time right there. Nelson Alves has improved to P4, 25.818. Simon Dukomski's only 2 milliseconds behind, and 1 millisecond behind him is Luca Repasa. I mean, it's literally 3 milliseconds now separating P5 through P7, as Ben Chaboconi has improved to P4 right there. His teammate is gonna get a lap time on the board as well. It's at 25.845. He just squeezes himself in between Cameron Dowes and Leo Lund right there with a lap time that is 11 milliseconds quicker than Leo's and only 3 milliseconds slower than Cameron Dowes. I mean, that is how absolutely competitive this grid is, and you absolutely love to see it. Let me see if I can find somebody else on a hot lap at the moment. I believe everybody out at the moment has just finished their hot lap, including Andre Molnar, who's sitting in P13. Pascal Ranieri now makes up the back of the field with a 26.1. Let's see if he can find some more time. Sergio and Gabor still have got the exact same lap time, now only in P17 and 18. Conor Bohm, they're just a bit ahead of them, P15 at the moment. But I'd say Aston Martin have got it all under control at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. They do have it in control right now as we find ourselves coming back into the pit lane with the majority of drivers as they find themselves just getting themselves into the pit lane, preparing for that final run where the circuit is at its best. So it can be quite the moment to try and push on, but we've still got Stouchelek out there on the circuit, and he's not the only one. You've also got the other Alpine of Ben Sabaconi making their way through, but they're not really pushing on at the moment in time as they continue to prepare for what will be the final runs as well. And I'd quickly like to take this moment as Quintino comes out onto this circuit, but just want to quickly mention in terms of Thomas Buldra, he was a driver who used to compete with us here in PSGL. Unfortunately, he posted on social media today that his brother passed away, which is absolutely terrible news. So everyone here at PSGL would like to send our thoughts and prayers to him, along with his family, friends and close ones as well, on what will be definitely a tough day for them, and it is going to be one that we will absolutely support them with as we find ourselves with Quintino making his way through. But yeah, just quickly wanted to mention that as well. A big unfortunate moment for Thomas Buldra, but our thoughts and prayers go to him.
Yeah, I just saw the news on X as well today. It's absolutely devastating when something like that happens, especially when they're still so young. I mean, we of course do not know how and what happened exactly, but it's still, you know, just so sad to see something like that happen, and all our thoughts and prayers are with them as we speak right here. So let's hope these drivers can give them a bit of a, so to say, a bit of a cheer up with a good race to come. set their mind of things a little bit. But yeah, it's terrible, terrible and grave news indeed. So, final runs for everybody here. 1.5 minutes more or less remaining. Gabriel Cantino will be the first to start his hot lap right here. We've only got 2 more drivers sitting in the pit lane, and I feel like one of the Alpines is going to come out right there, and only they will have to drive really fast around the track to make sure they can make the line in time. And I'm afraid for Piotr Stakulek, it's going to be too little too late, as there's now only about a minute remaining. And it's really, really busy out on track. You can see on the minimap right there, everybody trying to find a bit of a gap. With, I believe, Luca Rapasa was one of the first cars there from that massive group. You can see the Sauers right there lining up. They're pretty much all coming to a standstill. And I'm hoping for Gabriel's sake that by the time he arrives at turn 27, the massive traffic jam. I mean, look at that. Oh, never mind. Never mind. It goes into the wall. That's qualifying over. Gabriel Cantino pushed a little bit too hard, hit the curbs a bit too at the wrong location there. And that's qualifying over. Gabriel Cantino will not be able to finish his hot lap anymore, and now he's the one who's having to move out of the way. Then it's actually Konrad Bohm at the moment on his way. There's still a bit of a traffic jam in turn 27, but the McLaren is coming in fast and hot right there. But I feel like he's gonna be well clear of Strecker by the time he comes into the final sector there. But that is a shame for Gabriel Cantino. He's only going to be P16 at the very best. And I feel like the drivers behind are going to find their lap times if they stay within the white lines and absolutely beat him to the line. So potentially Gabriel could be starting all the way down in P20. Not a great way to get going in Jeddah. Fortunately for him, overtaking opportunities should definitely present them as the race progresses. You can see there, the checkered flag has fallen. Ben Shabakoni hasn't managed to make it to the line in time. That means he's going to be P4 at the very best. As Konrad Bohm finds a big improvement right there from 15th to P5 on the grid for now. Next then to cross the line, it's one of the RBs. It's Tony Hitala. He is invalidated, unfortunately. That means Luca Rapasa is next. We can see right there Red Bull. That's Gabriel's smashed Red Bull right there. Luca Rapasa goes all the way up to second place. 3/100ths of a second away from pole position. Alson Alves finds some big time as well. Then next up is Cameron Dowd. He stays in P9 for the time being. Can Ray Inches find some time? He's gonna cross the line. And next you can see there Gabor Xantos improving to P3. Then Ray Inches all the way up to P6. There's a lot of drivers now crossing the line. Simon Dukomski will have to deal with only P10, which is, I believe, not his optimal lap time he set at his track just yet. Sergio Sobrino has improved to 17th. That's the best he's going to find there. 25.9 there for only now, for P18. Andre Menard next to cross the line. And Liam Stevens, look at that, Elmi. 4 milliseconds away from pole position. That top 2 is insanely close.
Absolutely extraordinary. Here's Angelo D'Ortenzio to take it away. Extraordinary stuff for the Mercedes driver. Left it till last. And he finds the time to take pole position. The driver, who with his banker lap was way ahead of the field, is ahead of the field once again. That improvement was mammoth to go 62 thousandths ahead. And by PSGL standards this season, that's remarkable.
Absolutely, I mean the top 4 all within a tenth of one another. The second and third place within 4 milliseconds. And all the way down, you can see me here scrolling down the field. Last place is just over half a second slower than first place. It's almost like we're watching an F1 race right here, because that's how close they are at the moment. Rishan Jacobs with a 26.0 will start from last place with a 0.558 milliseconds slower than our pole sitter of Angelo D'Ortenzio. He kind of pulled that one out of the bag, didn't he? It was absolutely fantastic to beat Aston Martin. And, well, he didn't split them, but he actually managed to get ahead of the both of them. And now, that's actually going to be some serious pressure. He's got a big team behind him with Liam Stevens and Jan Halliday. So he's gonna have his work cut out for him.
Yeah, absolutely. A reminder to everyone, no lobby restart, meaning we're looking down in the pit lane, and any second we could be looking down to the 5 lights once the drivers have finalized their fuel, their strategy, and all of those stuff as well. So yeah, no more waiting around like previous seasons. We're straight into it. And that is the great thing, meaning we don't have that much time to talk about and relive that amazing qualifying. We're straight into this 25-lap race that will come around the Jeddah Corniche circuit. And I mean, if the race can be anything like qualifying, we're going to be in for some interesting next 40 minutes.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, this track definitely provides some good racing at pretty much all times. And I believe you could have barely wished for a better season opener than with these two tracks coming right after one another. So it definitely should provide some brilliant racing in a few seconds' time. Now, I feel like we know last week was a 2-stop, or in F2's case, a 3-stop due to the rain. Now, rain is definitely not going to be a thing here, Saudi Arabia. It's a very rare thing to happen indeed. But I do know, and I can tell you, that this race is going to be a 1-stop. But we're getting on our way right now, because the drives are ready. You can pretty much see all of them on the medium tires, with Angelo D'Ortenzio from pole position, and round 2 is on its way already, with Jan Halliday going to try and challenge the Mercedes in turn 1. Is he going to dive him? He's had a little look at it, but he didn't try too hard, which probably was for the best. Luca Rapasa challenging Liam Stevens there for the final podium place. A lot of drivers going side by side. You can see down the midfield a lot of battles happening. You can see the background right there. What's going to happen here? The Ferrari diving there, several cars at once. Sergio Sabrina trying to get past Piotr Stakula straight away, but not that happening too soon just yet. Cameron Downs there barging one of the McLarens out of the way, moving out to P12. Simon Lukomsky now demoted down to 14th place. Started in 10th, has lost several positions already. He will not be too happy about this race start just yet. You can see right there then the race leader Angelo D'Ortenzio is trying to get away from Jan Halliday, with Liam Stevens in tow along many other drivers. Nelson Alves getting awfully close right there to Luca Rapasa, and Cameron Dowds making another move, this time on the other McLaren of Conrad Bohm, as he's getting awfully close right there to the top 10. It's Benz Sabo Coney right ahead of him in the Alpine. Race Imtiaz right there ahead. It's a Sauber sandwich for the Alpine right there, which you don't hear very often. Then Leo Lund being stuck in a McLaren sandwich at the same time, sitting in 13th place at the moment. But back to the front of the field, or never mind, because we saw Leo Lund there nearly going for a move a bit further ahead. We can see Race Imtiaz getting really close to the back of Andre Molnar. Is he going to go for a move around the outside? No, a bit too far away, but we do see Leo Lund lunging pretty much against the McLaren right there, trying to get past Conrad Bohm, and it's half successful only because Conrad Bohm had a better exit out of turn 27.
Absolutely. Down the straight we go. Cars going wheel to wheel. That's an attempt from Imtiaz up against Molnar. The McLarens are close together, but it's Lukomsky ahead of Conrad Bohm, who DNF'd in the last race as well. So he wants to make up for it here in Jeddah. Imtiaz trying to stay ahead of Molnar, and he will do so indeed, because that's 8th position for the Kick Sauber as he makes his way through. Molnar, though, staying in behind. Molnar, of course, one of our reserve drivers this season, so he's finally getting his chance after all 20 drivers showed up last time. We've had a few drivers missing, including, of course, Riccardo Benzoni. So that is why we have Molnar, and we also have Quintino in the Red Bull for this round as well, as they are all making their way through. It is still Angelo D'Ortenzio, P1, and he got exactly the getaway he wanted. Was under a little bit of pressure from Jan Halliday, but nothing was enough for Halliday. He didn't get the getaway to be fully alongside to get the inside line there, so he had to settle in behind. He's still in second, and Liam Stevens, championship leader, P3.
Some voice in the chat being raised by Otis Lawrence about Andre Molnar trying to get a full-time seat right here. So let's see whether that's going to happen or not. For now, though, is in P9. Lost 2 positions so far, as you can see. Tire information. No surprises there, with all of them on the mediums. And they will make them last until lap 9 or 10-ish. And then they will all switch to the hard tires. Of course, tire wear is much more brutal in this game. And if you pit too early, I can tell you, I've seen drivers pitting at the end of lap 7, and that managed to get them a puncture by the very end of the race. So let's hope they've seen that information and done something with it. We can see here Piotr Stakilek with side by side there with Conrad Bohm. Can he manage to get past? Conrad is a fierce defender, as you can see. He nearly smashes the Alpine into the wall, but for now at least he can stay ahead, or is he? Because now Piotr's got the inside line, but Conrad's absolutely none of it. They're not fighting for any points whatsoever, but they're already risking getting themselves out of DRS range, which would be a nightmare on this track. 8 tenths between 14th and 13th right now, but Piotr is now ahead of Conrad Bohm once again, and now he's got to try and get back to the other McLaren. Some more moves happening in the background, as we can see right there. The top 4 has remained quite stable, but Nelson Alves is still awfully close right there to Luca Rapasa. Same goes for Gabor Xantos, who's been making his way a little bit up the field as well. No penalties just yet, maybe a few warnings here and there, but we cannot see those, unfortunately, on our spectator screens. It's the Haases in 6th and 7th, and they are still going quite well. It's an old big DRS train from first down to last, as Tony Hitala moves up to P16.
Yeah, the DRS train that we're used to, but if you are further back, what you'll be attempting is try to catch your rivals out and make some moves down towards turn number 27, and we're seeing exactly that for the final few positions on the road. That's Jacobs trying to get past Conrad Bohm, and then you've got Ranieri there for company as well in the Mercedes car, who will be up against Jacobs when they stand on the power, and now Jacobs will try and attack Conrad Bohm down the straight, and that attack will be successful. He is through even before we come across the line to begin lap number 4, and then we'll go wheel to wheel with Ranieri picking his braking point. And he's going to take the position, but was super tight under braking as Bohm loses the place, and now Quintino is there and ready to pounce in the Red Bull.
I feel like Bohm has been suffering a little bit from the battle there with Piotr Stakulak. He's been dropping a lot of positions now. You can see right there, he's lost 8 positions since the race started. He's now down from 11th to 19th. That is bad news there for the pole. There's Gabriel Quintino going off a little bit, trying to stay with the pack. He's now in last place, started in second to last, as you can see right there. So yeah, that's not great news there for the men in the Red Bull just yet. Up ahead though, it's Angelo D'Ortenzio still having a decently comfortable lead over Jan Halliday. At least he's keeping him at bay. The Aston Martins haven't gone into attack mode just yet, but we can see Larry Tolkey, speaking of teams there, getting very close to his teammates indeed. And I feel like these drivers might want to try and swap their positions around to see if Larry Tolkien actually attacked the Williams of Nelson Alves, for P5 right there. But no such thing is happening just yet. You can see that Larry Tolkien going quite wide, trying to cool the engine and the tires as well, because absolutely a thing in this game right here. Cameron Dow's getting awfully close there to Simon Lukomsky. Sorry, it's actually the other way around. Simon Lukomsky definitely had a go on the inside there of the Sauber in the final corner, and he's might just want to have another try here in turn 1, or is he? It might just be a little bit too far back, and I'm afraid that is actually really true right there. Rishan Jacobs there, we saw him in the background, moving a bit out of the way to cool the car as well. It's a crucial thing to do, otherwise you might be a little bit down on power, which might hamper your progress. Still though, Slipstream, of course, is definitely still a thing. Not as powerful as it was last game, thankfully, by the way. But all of the cars, I can say, Omi, there's been very little drama so far here in F2.
Yeah, little drama. We're taking it nice and easy after the drifting show we had last time out in the final laps, where Kashontos and Lukumsky decided to stay on the slick compound of tyres when it was bucketing it down with rain. That was a dramatic finish there, as we've seen a change in position. Up goes the Swedish driver Leo Lund, and he moves up to 10th, and Sabo Koni is now in 11th position as they make their way through, and it is 0.3 of a second. May have looked like that it was getting to over 1 second at the start of the lap, but now the DRS bringing Jan Halliday back into play. So the DRS very still powerful around this circuit, meaning the battle will go on and on and on, which is why the drivers are taking it nice and easy, and you cannot afford to battle too much to a point where you lose the DRS to the car ahead.
Yeah, we saw it happening between Piotr and one of the McLarens. They nearly lost DRS in a span of only a few corners. And that's absolutely the last thing you want. The cars ahead will drive away so fast if you lose connection to them with having no more DRS. So it would be pretty much a nightmare at the end of your race if you lose connection. There's, of course, safety cars, but I believe they are unreduced, which means they will not come out as frequently. We can already see Piotr Stakulak going in for a pit stop, which is quite early, I have to say. He's already gone to the hard tires. And now he's going to have to make them last all the way until the end of the race. And I believe that might just be a challenge. He's choosing the undercut, but by the end of the race, he's going to have to really conserve his tires. And on the minimap, we see Conrad Bohm once again in trouble. Saw him go wide at the exit of turn 10. And now he's in last place. And thanks to that incident right there, both Gabriel and himself nearly lost DRS. Gabriel's just barely hanging on to the rest of the field. These two backmarkers at the moment struggling. And speaking of struggling, Angelo D'Ortenzio is definitely not doing that. He's managed to finally gap Jan Halliday to out of the DRS range right there. But look at that. Some extra battery usage and some drifting through the corner right there does help him back within DRS range. So Angelo has definitely not gotten rid of the Aston Martins yet.
Yeah, Statulek will definitely be hoping and praying for some sort of safety cars, which, I mean, safety cars in Jeddah is kind of a good combination, usually in races. We have seen it plenty of times. We've seen plenty of wheel-to-wheel through turn 27, and it's exactly what we've got at the moment, because Ben Sabaconi, who lost the position earlier on, is now finding himself coming into the pit lane along with Andre Molnar. So 2 more pit stops coming in. This is on to lap number 7, so still going to be a big risk all the way till the end. Yeah, it'll be quite interesting to see whether they do decide to go and try go different. What we suggested and what we thought in Austria about only a few drivers doing a two-stop, let's see whether we could be seeing that coming their way, even if the one-stop might be the way to go. Some drivers with nothing to lose possibly experimenting a little bit different to try and bolt themselves up the order.
Yeah, Tomas Cockney in the chat saying a two-stop probably. Well, we'll have to see. I mean, that's a fair point. You see Grunt there as well. Impossible to go to the end from lap 6, and I think that's very true indeed. So a two-stop will be more viable for Piotr Stakulek. On the upside, though, you will have very fresh tires, and that means you'll be a lot quicker than those who are on those ancient hard tires by the end of the race. So I feel like several drivers have different opinions on which strategy is going to work best. Those that are still out at the moment are now on lap 7. If they all come in right now, it might actually be a two-stop race, and I might have been completely wrong. I mean, I've commentated on a high-tier race in another league last night, and they all did a one-stop. But maybe it's an entirely different kind of beast for this particular tier, because all of these are, well, they are an awful lot faster, I have to say. And they might have some different opinions indeed. Liam Stevens might be one of them. Never mind. For a moment I thought he was going to come in for his first pit stop right there, but he's decided to stay out. Just trying to cool his car a little bit there. Simon Dukomski might actually consider going in, but he has decided not to. He's lost DRS. Has now got a 2.3 second gap to the next car of Race Imches. That is quite massive, and only way he can reduce the gap is through the corners, which on those old medium tires is not going to work as brilliantly as he probably would like. Now then, people moving up and down the field. Leo Lund, Cameron Dowds have decided to pit as well for fresh, hard tires. And now they'll try to make them last as long as possible. Some of them might hope for a safety car, but I feel like differences in opinion in terms of one or two stops.
Yeah, quite a lot of chatter will be going on, and this is the great thing about it. It isn't clear-cut like previous games. You are definitely going to see someone go for that one stop, even if the majority do choose the two. So it is quite fascinating to see how everything is playing out. We're taking a look at our race leader, Angelo Di Ortenzio, who is a driver trying to find himself in contention. And Angelo Di Ortenzio, of course, a contender when it came to last round, but finished in 7th position, did the Italian driver. So he wants to get his first podium of the season. He wants to go on the top step. Along with that, at the same time, and Jan Halliday, as I mentioned, off form when it came to the season opening round, which will come as quite the surprise, but he was able to perform in qualifying earlier on. As we take a look at Di Ortenzio sliding his way into the pit lane, luckily not getting the 10-second time penalty that would come his way had he sped into it, but everything's all okay, and he'll change the tires, go onto the set of hards and rejoin.
Yeah, this pit lane is a bit of a difficult one. I've seen a lot of drivers getting a 10-second penalty for just going a little bit too fast. It's that strange corner just before the entry is what catches a lot of people off guard. We can see there an overtake from Ben Shabokoni on the car behind. I believe that's Cameron Dowds. Yes, it is. Gabriel Schantels just manages to slot in behind the Sauber right there. That's how powerful the undercut is in this game. And now he's going to have to fight the Sauber for position, while he was actually ahead in P6 as Cameron Dowds was in P12. Now, they are pretty much behind one another, as we can see right here. So, a handful of cars. I have to say half the grid is still out on those medium tires. The other half, pretty much, has decided to pit for fresh tires. You can see it right there. It's an exact split between the top 10 on the mediums and everybody below on the fresh hard tires, with Piotr Stakulek on the oldest. 3 laps old so far. He went in at the end of lap 5, which is actually seriously early. As Nuno Pinto points out in the chat, you need to do at least 12 laps on the mediums to be able to do one stop. I can tell you 10 laps actually works as well. But your tires will be quite old by the end of it, and potentially in danger of popping pretty much when you don't want it to happen. Jan Halliday has decided to carry on for another lap. Liam Stevens is coming as well as Luca Repasa, Nelson Alves, Larry Toki has decided to join the fray in the pit box as well. Same goes for Sergio Sobrino, I believe. Gabriel Tino is the first driver to get a 3-second time penalty to his name, which will not help him in his fight to claw back to the points, as Jan Halliday has now got a comfortable lead for the time being on Simon Dukomski. Now 5 drivers remain on the medium tires, and everybody else is pitted for the hards.
Yeah, Absolutely. That's exactly what we've just seen happen at the moment. As we continue reviewing them all circulating round, here's Andre Molnar as he navigates his way by the reserve driver, as we mentioned, coming into this round, and he's going to be hoping to be able to get a good performance by the end of it. Still a lot to change, still a lot that can happen as well, which is always really nice to say, and it's great that this one is going to be going all the way till the end, when we'll be in the balance, which is what we want. And it will be fascinating to see who's going to come out on top in our second race of the PSGL F2 Championship. A very critical season for a lot of drivers in this field to get it right. And if they can do so, it could lead to promotion and even a few appearances in case there's absences in PCF1, which, as I mentioned, will be starting in a few weeks on July the 23rd. So if there is any absences, then you could see some drivers getting some promotions. I remember last time we had Julian Klaffenbach about a year ago who managed to get that as well. Whoa. So if he can perform here, then an opportunity like that can come your way.
That's Piotr Stakulek definitely going for a dive in the final corner, but Angelo was having absolutely none of it. Tyre difference already, I believe, is about 4 laps between Angelo's and Piotr's hard tyres right there, and Piotr might be struggling a little bit already against these drivers. Leo Lund there going for a move as well, a lunge in turn 1. Is he trying to make it stick around the outside? Yes, he does. You can see the cars behind now going 3 wide, headed towards turn 4. Will we see some drama here then? 2 Aston Martins going side by side, but Liam Stevens just managing to stay ahead of Jan Halliday, who's pitted on this exact lap, finds himself still behind his teammate, or actually he does actually manage to slot in behind his teammate while he was ahead a lap ago when they were both still on the medium tires. Little correction from me on that part, sorry about that one. Andre Molnar is now technically the race leader because Conrad Bowman and Gabriel Quintino are still out on those old medium tires. They are gonna gamble the one stop for sure because it's the end of lap 11 when they might actually pit right here, or they might stay out for another lap to try and get the freshest hearts of the entire field. Andre Molnar then trying to get away from Angelo D'Ortenzio. The tire difference you can see right here, 2 laps to be precise, which isn't a huge difference, but at least the undercut has worked in favor of the Ferrari right there. Leo Lund, of course, went in a lap earlier than Angelo D'Ortenzio as well, managed to get himself into technically P3 right there. Piotr Stakulek with his big undercut in P4 at the moment. Conrad Bohm, Gabriel Quintino doing all they can to work together to stay as fast as possible despite the old tires. Are they going to come in right here on this lap? Conrad certainly is, but Gabriel Quintino has decided to carry on for another lap. That's very brave. Now lap 12 right there in the background, you can see those who've pitted already approaching fast, and a huge drove. It's like a big traffic jam at 300 kilometers an hour. Liam Stevens, Jan Halliday, Piotr Stakulek now getting overtaken there, or try to attack pretty much the the Aston Martin. There comes Luca Repasa on the fresher hard tires as well. Can he get past in turn 4? It looks like Piotr has to cut the corner to stay ahead. Is he gonna have to give back the position there for an illegal overtake? Looks like the game has pretty much allowed it, otherwise he would have moved out of the way already. And now Luca Repasa finds himself stuck in an Alpine sandwich, and now with the first pit stops done, the tension is heating up quick on track.
Yep, it is, and we always mention, well, once we get our way to the pit stop, it can get quite tensed all the way to the checkered flag, because the drivers know that this is a position they could find themselves in for a while, so this is the moment they need to start getting on with it. They don't want to leave it all till the end, because that is what everyone will be doing. They'll all have something in reserve for that final stage, the box office moment of the race, and you can see how close they're all getting together, especially Luca Repasa and Piotr Stakulek. As you can see, Repasa with the much more fresher tyres closing in onto the back of the Alpine, and will try find his way by in a couple of meters time. When they get on the brakes for turn number 27, he'll be ahead before they do so, and it's Repasa up to 7th position for the moment. That'll be a net P6 when we see our race leader Gabriel Quintino pit, and that is going to be happening right now as he will drop down the order. So now we have Molnar in the lead, Angelo D'Ortenzio in 2nd, and Leo Lund in 3rd, as we see a dive bomb coming from Cameron Dowds, thinking about the inside line but won't get there, and still is in P9.
Yeah, Ben Shabakoni carried a lot more speed in turn 1. You can see him right there, easily fending off Cameron Dowds' Sauber. Also noted in the chat as well, well done, damage to Luca Repasa's front wing. The left end plate has gone missing, and through the corners here you might struggle a little bit lifting, as you can hear on the engine right there. But he's still at least managing to stay within DRS range, which is going to be crucial. He's very near the top 5. but he's gonna have to manage a little bit more now that his car is a little bit less on the downforce side. At least managed to overtake one car. He could be able to do a few others. I mean, he's very fast. His race pace is brilliant. So it should still be just fine, so to say. Gabriel Cantina has now slotted in last place comfortably. 4 seconds behind Konrad Bohm. Konrad Bohm himself is about 3.5 seconds clear of Pascal Ranieri, but you can see through the corners he's gaining an awful lot of time. The gap is shrinking fast, and then it would increase again on the straight with all the DRSs wide open from the top 18 upwards. All of them are still stuck within a DRS train. It's looking a little bit different now than at the race start. You can see the Aston Martins have dropped a few positions after the pit stops, as we see Nelson Alves overtaking Ben Sabaconi for P8 right there. You can see ahead for the front of the field some potential more fighting starting to happen, but it looks like it's just a camera angle because those gaps are too big. All of those cars moving out of the way to cool the car as much as possible. Larry Tolke had a little bit of a look right there at Ben Sabaconi as well. Those tires on the Alpine are struggling a little bit already compared to the rest. Same goes for Piotr Stakulek. He's doing quite well to still hang on in P7 for the time being. We saw there in turn 4, bit of a wobble going into it. It might be a struggle for him to make them last all the way until the end.
Yeah, gonna be fascinating, gonna be interesting as they make their way through this opening sector of the circuit. Quintino, the only driver who has a penalty to his name at the moment, as they all start to spread themselves up and they all get ready to prepare for this final stage of the race. It's been very interesting so far this first half, and now we'll be battling our way into the more exciting part as well. It is great to have your company wherever you might be watching from at the moment in our second race of the season, and it's proving to be an interesting round, and it continues to show how competitive and how unpredictable this is all the way till the end, as Ranieri thinks about it at major speed into 22, but will sit in behind Will Ranieri, and he'll try and attack Tony Hietala, who is going to be slow off the exit. It means the Mercedes will be tight as they go through, and we're going to be banging wheels very nearly, but it will be Ranieri who gets ahead, not the only one. We were also battling up ahead as well as Tulki ahead of Sabaconi, and we still have Hietala putting a nose in there and getting back ahead momentarily, and now they'll have a drag race down towards turn 1 as we go on to another lap.
Yeah, Ben Sabaconi then going in for a second stop. Definitely a 2-stop for the Alpine right there at the very least. And I feel like Piotr Stakulek will be following quite soon. Gabriel Cantina now with the fastest lap of the race. No surprises there. He's got the freshest tires up the lot. He's closing in on Konrad Bohm fast, who himself is also closing in on the big DRS train right there. So you can see quite impressive. Despite the massive tows that all the cars ahead are giving each other, it's Konrad Bohm who manages to close the gap in all of these corners, particularly this bit here in sector 1, turns 4 all the way down to turn 12. He's look at that, he's now within DRS range. His teammate isn't that far ahead either, and he might be able to make some moves very soon on those fresh hards. Ben Sabaconi, let's see what tires he's chosen. Another fresh set of hard tires all the way until the end of the race, which is at the moment 10.5 laps remaining as we speak. Andre Molnar is still leading. It's Liam Stevens, Jan Halliday on the freshest tires in the top 5 at the moment, I believe. So they might be in a very good position to challenge by the end of the race. You can see them trying to work together to keep the cars behind, actually behind, and the cars ahead behind themselves as well as soon as possible. You can see that Leo Lund got a little bit of a gap right there to the cars ahead. Nelson Alves making another move potentially on Luca Ripasa, but it's not happening just yet, or that might have actually been Piotr Stakulek. Yeah, there it is on his old hard tires, and Andre Molnar is also going for a 2-stop strategy right there. So it definitely looks like these drivers are getting more and more in agreement that the 2-stop strategy is the more viable option. The race leader then pitting for another set of hard tires, trying to do another big undercut, and then 10 laps all the way until the end of the race on these hards.
Yep, that is indeed the plan at the moment for these drivers. And Andre Molnar, well, what a story it would be for him to come in as a reserve driver and find his way to the top step of the podium. Of course, leading off what we've already mentioned and described as another story to start off our season last time out with Liam Stevens on the week where he signed with Aston Martin as the development driver, being able to get his way to the win. It was a perfect way to kickstart his season. He's trying to maintain it. He's still running in a good position right now. 3rd place on the road is Liam Stevens. He's got his teammate and reigning champion of PCF2 behind for company, and we also have Angelo Di Ortenzio, who was the champion of Season 38. So 2 PCF2 champions from the past on the grid, looking to try get another PCF2 championship. But it's not going to be easy, because they've got such a competitive grid and so many other drivers to try and deal with throughout the season.
Yeah, I mean, if qualifying has proven anything, that this grid is so competitive, all within 0.6 of a second of one another, from first all the way down to last. So that definitely proves a whole lot of things. Further ahead, Liam Stevens getting awfully close to Leo Lund. Is he going to go for a move? His teammate Jan Halliday had to move from the left to the right on the track, at least from the camera point of view, as Cameron Dowd gets overtaken by Rishan Jacobs, who was fighting at the back of the field at the first stint, finds himself well within the top 10 in P8 right now. And I'm starting to wonder how many more drivers are going to pit for their second time. Or are all of these drivers going to try and stay out? We can see Andre Molnar has found Gabriel Quintino. Well, he's still 4.5 seconds clear. Actually, never mind that, as Gabriel Quintino has found Ray Zimtias on his slightly older set of hard tires. He's definitely going for the one stop. I'm quite convinced of that. And Andre Molnar is now going to hope that the rest is in agreement with him, alongside the Alpine drivers, to go for a two-stop strategy, as opposed to a one-stop right here in Saudi Arabia. We are at lap 17 at the moment. Angelo D'Ortenzio is back in the lead from pole position. Leo Lund has managed to squeeze himself in second place from, what was the position? Look at that, from 16th position all the way up to P2 right there from a brilliant strategy. But his tires might start to struggle soon, because that tire difference, well, he's got the oldest set of tires in the top 5 at the moment. Angelo's tires are slightly younger, and then Jan Halliday's tires are the youngest of them all by quite the margin. You can see already there the difference between 2 laps of tire age is that Liam Stevens gets through the corners a lot more easily. And now we're going to see more drivers then pulling into the pit lane. No, they do not. We're now lap 18. The top drivers of the field currently are still out and going strong as we speak. We can see there Pascal Ranieri moving past several drivers. It's quite chaotic here in turn 1. What's he gonna do? Is there a tap? Whoa, they nearly take one another out. But Pascal Ranieri, for the time being, stays ahead. A Haas there moving in the background of the track. That's Gabriel Xontos with a nightmare of a turn 1 right there. And a bit of front wing now missing from his Haas car. Oh, and he goes off again. And it feels like he's got no choice but to yield all of these positions. That's really unfortunate for the Hungarian, who had a brilliant race so far, actually.
Yeah, and that one will definitely hurt for Gabriel Xontos. As we mentioned, he finished 19th in the last round due to him staying out on the slicks for us as well, which, I mean, was great entertainment to see 2 drivers battling on the slicks on a wet circuit, but not for his championship. And it's another round which looks like he won't be adding to the collection of memory as we make our way down into turn number 22. And the Aston Martins, well, we've been mentioning how they could find themselves in contention come the end. They definitely look like 2 drivers to keep an eye on, and they're right now on the back of Leo Lund and our race leader Angelo Di Ortenzio. But it's going to be interesting to watch Andre Molnar and see him picking places left, right and centre. He'll be trying to overtake and get his way through, carve his way through the field, but that is easier said than done, I think it is fair to say, especially when he'll be getting so feisty between all of the drivers. It's going to have to be trying to make the moves in the best possible way without losing too much time.
There goes Gabriel Xontos, unsurprisingly, in the pit lane, retiring. That's only the first retiree, and it's in the pit lane. That's quite impressive, but it's a shame. That's another 0 points added to Xontos' name, which is very unfortunate. He was definitely trying to fight for a top 5. He was with his teammate Larry Tolkey in the first stint, and Larry Tolkey at the moment finds himself in P7, right behind Nelson Aves, and straight ahead of Rishan Jacobs, who's managed to close the gap, by the way, to the top 7. So impressive stuff from him, despite his 10-lap-old hard tires. Andre Molnar at the moment still in P17, and he'll be a little bit surprised to find himself only being one of 3 drivers who've chosen the 2-stop, and that might hurt his chances to win the race. I mean, the race leader, well, it's 9 seconds away from him at the moment, Angelo D'Ortenzio. And it's going to be a challenge to cut through these drivers as fast as possible, because they'll all fight for positions. None of them want to move out of the way voluntarily, to say the very least. He's now got Ray Zimtias ahead of him, who's got no DRS, so that shouldn't be much of a problem. And next up ahead is Gabriel Quintino on not that old hard tires either. He's trying to pick people off one by one as well. He's got, oh my goodness me, there's a big tangle there between Gabriel Cantino and Conrad Bohm as he tried to get past around the outside. Once again, Conrad had absolutely none of it, and he's gonna have to try again in turn 1, and Gabriel will not be a very happy man with that move right there. Is he gonna go for it once again in turn 1? He's definitely having a look and having a dive at it as well, but once again unsuccessful. But Conrad Bohm does get a poor exit, allowing Gabriel to try and get past once again. This is the fight for P14 actually, mind you, and he's still not passed because Conrad Bohm is absolutely keeping that McLaren as wide as he possibly can. It has allowed though André Molnar and Race Imches to close the gap rapidly, and now they're within DRS range, and that's definitely in the favor of the Ferrari.
Yeah, but that's exactly what he'll have to deal with in a few moments. He'll have to try and get past the traffic while they battle amongst themselves. So there we go with Molnar getting onto the back. He'll have to pick cars quite quickly if he wants to find himself as a contender for the higher point. But it's going to be tricky as he tries to find his way through. He'll have the better grip, he'll have the better traction through all of these corners, but it's going to be about using the battery at the critical moment to try and pass. That's the goal ahead of Ranieri as well right now, as we watch him go through turn 22 on the back of Cameron Dowds at the moment, and he's going to get an opportunity to pass in a couple of moments time. Let's see whether he can do it, as Dowds will try and offer the defense. Ranieri will get closer and closer. He'll get to the inside line of turn number 27 and he may lock up, but he's going to go round. He's going to go round, and he found himself going into the side of the Mercedes car ahead as he was trying to find himself making an overtake, but that was far too late on the brakes, and that is round for Ranieri, our first big moment of the race.
He just completely lost control of the car, nearly slid into the side of the Williams right there. And that's really not helping him trying to get up the field. He finds himself in P16 now. And once again, it helps André Molnar. Is already overtaking both the Red Bull of Gabriel and the McLaren of Conrad. And he's right behind Simon Lukomsky. He's getting closer and closer to the top 10. And the gap to the race leader is closing as well. There's a yellow flag in Sector 3. Unsurprisingly, Cameron Dowds have retired for the race, as he was a victim of Ranieri's loss of control, which is really unfortunate. He was having a good race as well. So 2 drivers now out due to some incidents right there. I'm not sure exactly what happened to Geborg Schontos, but Cameron Dowds was quite obvious. It was Ranieri's loss of control in the last corner that helped him into retirement tonight, which is a big shame. Angelo D'Ortenzio at the moment is still trying to pull away from Leo Lund, who is still in 2nd place from 16th. He's still holding off the Aston Martins as we're reaching the final few laps of the race. Is Andre alongside the Alpine cars who've opted for a 2-stop strategy. The rest then actually is then in agreement that a 1-stop is the fastest strategy, at least for now. It really depends on how those tires will wear on come the final few laps of the race. Now André Molnar is behind his own teammate, and I feel like Sergio is not going to make a big fuss about letting André Molnar pass right here in turn 1. I feel like, yeah, there we go. He's not going to attack at all or defend, I have to say. But Tony Hitala, of course, is going to defend, and quite feistily as well. But the tire difference is just too vast to have any chance at trying to defend. And it looked like André Molnar tried to help out his teammate as well to get past the RB, but that just didn't work out as he would have liked. And now Andre's got a 2-second gap to the top 8 to cover on the freshest tires of the whole field. And if he can manage to do that, who knows what can happen from there.
Yep, absolutely. This is turning into quite the day then. Another fascinating race with quite a few talking points to take from it. But right now all attention is to Molnar, who was 2 seconds away about a second ago. Now finds himself 1 second away as he closes onto the back of Rishan Jacobs. And he is making the moves when needed, is André Molnar. And this is absolutely remarkable stuff. But yeah, got tight. Hitala offered the defense, but that was to no use. Thrown straight out of the window, with Molnar able to get to the inside line. And now as we get down to turn number 22, he's got the DRS, and he is going to be a contender as he tries to take more and more positions. This has been a great use of the strategy for Molnar to try and fight his way through, but the question is, by the end of it, he was already contending at the front. He was already a driver contending at the front, but he is going to find himself now just trying to get the best possible result and get the best possible to get the best possible points. But as a reserve driver, he's definitely shown his class today.
Absolutely, yeah. He'll be making a big impression on the teams here tonight on the grid. And who knows what will happen if he can get even more position. Oh, he locks up! That is not the way you want to climb to the front of the field. He locks up in turn 1. It is a nightmare scenario there for Andre Molnar. Drops out of DRS and then again. But frankly, fortunately, I have to say, it's the tire difference that will help him back to the pack. We saw a little bit of a yellow flag in turn 4, I believe. The pack has shifted around a little bit. Gabriel Quintino has dropped back from the group he was in. Tony Hitala and Simon Dukomsky have swapped positions. Sergio is now ahead of the RB. He had done so already by the end of the previous lap, as Gabriel gets another 3-second time penalty to his name. That now brings it up to a 6-second total. He, along with Tony Hitala and Conor Bohm, are the only 3 on penalties at the moment, which is quite impressive, considering the track is quite extraordinary rough on track limits. Angelo Tratenzio, in the meanwhile, lap 23 has nearly lost Leoland from DRS, but that will not happen thanks to the 3 DRS zones. As you can see right here, Leoland is still within range, but he's struggling now. And Liam Stevens and Jan Halliday will soon see their opportunity to both try and at least get on the podium together and maybe challenge for the race win. Andre Molnar makes up another position. Now he's in P8 and in the middle of the pack, fighting for the win. He can see the race leaders. They're only a couple of seconds ahead. But between himself and Angelo D'Artenzio, there are still 6 cars he has to overtake until he's right on the gearbox of the Mercedes, who started from pole position. So this could be exciting. 2 laps to go. What can he do from this position in P8? We'll find out very soon.
Laps are ticking. Laps are running out. This is going to be incredible. Yes, we've got the charge of Molnar, but who's going to win this? Will it be D'Artenzio? Will it be Leoland? Will it be Liam Stevens who's going to go back to back? So many question marks, and the front battle has calmed down over the last few laps, but it's about to erupt in a couple of moments' time, 100%, as it's going to be getting very, very exciting, and it's all going to be getting very, very tight as we see Molnar close in, but backs out of it down into turn number 13 on this racetrack.
Absolutely mind blowing. Look at that. He's now all over the gearbox of Larry Tolkies. Might even try and have a move in a corner that you usually do not overtake, which is of course turn 17. But no, he wisely decides to stay behind. He wants to conserve his tires. He wants to keep his front wing in one piece as well. He's got to pick his opportunities perfectly, but he's running out of time if he wants to get on the podium. Nobody ahead has got a penalty, so that's not going to help him whatsoever. So now is the time to strike. He's got to at least overtake Larry Tolkie to get up into P7, but I feel like it's not gonna get much better after that. There's still Nelson Alves, but here he comes then. Andre Molnar in turn 27. He's gonna go for it. Yes, a dive. And look at the tire difference. Larry Tolkie stands no chance. Perhaps a little bit of a better exit, but no. Andre Molnar is still within DRS range, and now we're on the final lap of the race, and as well as his charge is right here to get up through the field, we're gonna have to swap our attention to the front of the field to see who's going to win the race. These 4 drivers have been at it all race pretty much. It was the Aston Martins who led together with Angelo D'Artenzio on the first stint right there. Leo Lund has managed to squeeze himself in between them from the first pit stop onwards. You can see here his tires are still the oldest by far. He's pitted on lap number 8, and that is a brilliant achievement by him to get a one-stop working on that strategy right there. His tires will be screaming for relief, I'm sure, right now, and he's probably screaming at them to not pop at the worst possible opportunity, which would of course be at the end of the race. But here he is then. He's nearly out of DRS range right there. Angelo D'Artenzio is pretty much safe, I'd say. Leo Lund has got no more tire life to attack. Liam Stevens has fallen too far back as well. Jan Halliday might then try to find his own teammate to get onto the podium tonight. It's less than half a second splitting the 2 Aston Martins right there. Then through turn 22 for one final time, Angelo D'Artenzio. It looks like Leo Lund is too far away to make a move at the final corner. Same goes, of course, for the Aston Martins, and therefore it's Jan Halliday. He's going to try and challenge in the final corner. He dies, but he can't succeed. There's too much speed on Liam Stevens' car. He stays on the podium then, and it looks like Angelo D'Artenzio from pole position claims his first victory in F2 this season. Then Leo Lund, with an absolutely extraordinary strategy, finishes in second. Big surprise right there for him. He'll be absolutely delighted. Liam Stevens will have to do with P3 right there, but I'm sure he won't mind at all. His nearest rival, Luca Rapasa, is behind him, and I think that's what counts for him at the moment. And the rest of the field, you'll see quite soon.
Yep, we will indeed. And well, Yoda Martins said
Yeah.
Andrew Molnar would end in 7th. 7th he did at the end. Absolutely brilliant stuff there from him, but brilliant stuff at the front of the field. That was a race that went all the way till the end, and it was great to see. And our winner is Angelo Diotencio at the end of it. Then it was Lund. Stevens getting 2 podiums to start his season. Great stuff from him. Halliday got close to the podium spot, but he finishes in 4th. And then it's Rapassa, Alves, Molnar, and then Tulki, Rishan Jacobs, and Sergio Sabrino puts 2 Ferraris in the top 10. Lukumski in 11th, and then it's Ranieri in 12th. Ben Sabaconi is in 13th, and then we find ourselves with Conrad Bohm, who is able to finish a race this season after the retirement last time out. Tony Itala in 15th, Imtiaz in 16th, and then it's Quintino in 17th. Stouchlek is in 18th, Dowds is in 19th as a retirement, along with Gabba Kashontos, both of those 2 drivers retiring in the pit lane.
I really hope Leo Lund will join us in the commentary box to give some insight on his tire wear. I want to know how bad those tires were on a scale of 1 to 10. So let's try. I'm going to try and tag them in the F2 Discord chat as we speak. So I hope we'll get some words from our top 3 and we'll see what they have to say about this race. And I'm sure, I have to say, this race was properly clean. Very few incidents, a few things that happened, of course. The slide from Pascal Ranieri, who still managed to finish P12, by the way, which is quite impressive. But unfortunately, it has caused Cameron Dowds to retire, which, of course, is a shame. But no safety cars, not even a virtual safety cars, a few yellow flags and 3 retirements by the end of it. So all in all, I'd say a very proper and clean race from all of them.
Yeah, nice stuff. And they definitely showed their class today as well. And so far this season, I think we've not had anything majorly dramatic or any big contacts where we are left a little bit shocked. So yeah, decent stuff. Of course, we had that one little incident with Ranieri, but eventually in a season you will get some drivers doing that, just getting a little bit too eager excited, I think it is fair to say sometimes, as they try to fight their way up the order, which eventually does happen for some drivers when they are competing at this level, and for a few of them as well, the first time they're really getting to properly fight. So yeah, you are going to get some of those moments, but it's great to see that it's been limited so far across our opening 2 rounds.
Yeah, I'm just watching the Discord chat, and already Leo Lund has answered my question without even being here. 84%, Omi. 84. How hard do you think he was praying in that car?
I think it is fair to say quite a lot. But yeah, that's remarkable. That is exactly what we were mentioning, with it being right on the brink at the end. And yeah, luckily he got to the end. But I mean, there's your answer why he wasn't able to go full out attack and give us a grandstand finish. He was just trying his absolute best to just bring it home, and it was good that he was able to stay ahead of the Aston Martins as well.
Yeah, I'm also wondering how Andre will be feeling after he realized he was one of 3 who decided to go for the 2-stop. How do you think he would react to that?
Well, of course, you have to consider that it was the undercut originally that got him in that position, which would have meant that he would have been struggling. He would have been struggling in the end, just like Lund, if not finding himself with a puncher at the end anyway. So, yeah, I think as a reserve, he showed his talent, and that's the most important thing. Unless he gets promoted to a full-time seat, he's not going to be contending for the title. So yeah, he's shown his class today, and he showed some great pace as well, did Andre Molnar. And I'm looking forward, I think it is fair to say, of him coming more in our races throughout the season, hoping to see a lot more of him fighting and battling at the front of the field.
Yep, we've got somebody in our waiting room, Omi. It's actually Leo Lund. So let's drag him right in there and ask him, Leo, if you can hear us. I hope you can. First and foremost, you must have been praying in that car by the final few laps.
I mean, not really. I know I was like fine, but yeah, I just did not want to be unlucky last sector.
Yeah, I mean, you saw Andre Molnar going in for a 2-stop strategy. I was wondering, was that strategy ever on your mind, this race?
No, because it's, yeah, the laps are just too little and you have to overtake all the cars and stuff. So yeah, 2-stop is dog here.
Yeah, and of course the obvious question, but I've got to ask it. You must be very satisfied with this result.
I mean, I bottled quali pretty crazy, I would say, but yeah, P16 to P2, I guess I take that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you must be very happy at the moment indeed. Omi, anything you'd like to know from our men in second place?
Yeah, quick question when it does come to qualifying. Of course, you found yourself in 20th last time out and still recovered up into 4th position. So would you say qualifyings have been the struggle so far this season? And then is that going to be your main goal to try and improve the races?
I mean, last week I had no practice because I had no power until the race, so I cannot practice. So that's why I struggled in quali. And this race, I had pace in quali, but just did not manage to get a good lap. So yeah, I have pace in quali, but I'm just crazy bad in session.
Perfect. Perfect. Well, thank you very much, and we hope to speak to you more across the season in the commentary box.
Thanks, bye.
Cheers. Right, so, well, it looks like we're only going to hear then from Leo Lund tonight, because our winner and our third place man have decided, unfortunately, not to join us. So, yeah, Leo Lund was actually quite relaxed, wasn't he, Omi, about his strategy?
Yeah, I mean, we have us who are all like, oh god, that was so tight, and all stressing for him, and then he's just there, nice, relaxed, and I mean, in the cockpit, that is sometimes the nice thing. He's confident he'll bring it home. If anything does go wrong, then I guess he'll deal with it when it does happen and deal with the aftermath. But yeah, it sounded like he had it under control, and sometimes in a series like this, you do need to have that mentality when not even when it comes to tires, but sometimes when you are being shoved off the road, when you're being thrown into the gravel. I think he's showing his way to stay calm at the moment this season, which is really nice to see as well. So yeah, really nice to be able to see that from Leo Lund coming into this game cycle. And it's been qualifyings to races which have been 2 recovery drives so far this season, so he's going to hope to try and minimize that and be able to get a good qualifying in next time out, which is going to be at Spa.
Yeah, Spa-Francorchamps, and I feel like that might actually definitely be a 2-stop. I've heard rumors about the tire wear being absolutely brutal, and considering we found the tire wear to be brutal at these 2 tracks, at Spa it must be an absolute nightmare to drive around, and I feel like the drivers once again are going to pick the harder tire options, and yeah, unlike last race, I feel like everybody might try and do a 2-stop, because a 1-stop might be a bit of a stretch right there, don't you think?
Yeah, definitely could be. And it's going to mean that it's going to be interesting, but it is Spa, so the weather can also be quite interesting as well. So that's the good thing. I mean, we're discussing the strategy, but we could end up with a completely different situation due to the weather, and the drivers will find that out when they head into the race. So yeah, it's going to be quite fascinating to see what happens around Spa. And yeah, we mentioned 2 interesting races to start the season, but Spa, what a circuit as well to head to next.
Yeah, I can't wait to see that one in whichever tier I'm going to be commentating next week. But it's been an absolute pleasure, Omi, to be here beside you on the F2 race tonight. Some brilliant racing once again, some strong drivers as usual out there. And yeah, definitely looking forward to last week. Any last words from you before we say goodbye to our viewers?
Well, I'd like to thank absolutely everyone once again for joining us, and quick apologies as well, as I've already mentioned earlier on in the stream, that we couldn't bring you F3, F4 or F5 today as well. I'm sure the drivers will be talking a lot about their results on social media though, and I'm sure the commentators will bring you all up to date with their respective tiers when it comes to next week as well, with all of the updated standings. So yeah, apologies for that, but I'm happy that we were able to get you a full and complete broadcast for PC F2, and a huge thanks to you, of course, Rob, for joining me, and we hope to have Alex back next time out at Spa as well. So yeah, huge thanks to everyone for joining us, and we hope to also see you in a week's time at Spa.
Yep, same place, same play, same time. Until then, goodbye.